Welcome to the Institute of Jewish Knowledge and Learning. We are with Rabbi Akiva Mann, and we will be dedicating now until Shavuot to Sparks Beneath the Omer. Take it away, Rebbe.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and I hope and trust that everyone had a lovely and inspiring Yom Tov. I wish we would have time to review the highlights of your Yom Tov. Okay, so Chavra, how do we start? The beginning of the counting of the Omer is just an enormous spiritual endeavor. And for those of you that have been in past classes, we have over the years, I should say decades, we have reviewed and dug deeply into the parameters of the the tree of life, the spherotic system that was established by the mystics of the past. It would be useful for me to see by a show of hands who of you have not been exposed to the tree of life, this spherotic system of mystical thought.
He says, who of you have not been exposed?
Who has not? But that's Marilyn, who we want to have. We have a special Marilyn.
Okay, good. So we'll just interject for a moment.
There's about 3 or 4 people who are virgins.
Okay.
Well, virgins.
Okay. Marilyn.
Yes.
Can you please tell me and tell the rest of the chevra who we are dedicating this day of learning for?
Oh, me. It's my birthday. I'm 90 years old today.
Oh, gewalt. Oh, how beautiful.
And here's my daughter sitting next to me. Hi.
How beautiful.
I think so. I was praying I would live to this day. My prayers were answered. I'm a part of the tree of life.
Wow. Okay.
I missed the first 3 minutes, so I really was not aware of what you were talking about.
You didn't miss much. I was just doing an inquiry. So Marilyn, on behalf of myself, on behalf of all of us, it's such a pleasure and merit for us to have you present in our fellowship, in our classes, and we only wish you today's sphira, today's topic of discussion is so apropos for a blessing for you, because we are going to be talking about the sphira of Gevura, of which is usually translated as strength.
Right.
So we are going to shower upon you. We are going to shower upon you the strength and the vigor that you continue from mechayil al chayil, from strength to strength. And the strength of a 90-year-old is a different type of strength. Okay. And you know what that means.
Well, my father said yom yom.
Right.
Okay. Toda Rabbah, I'm very appreciative.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So friends, let's review. Friends, I have found, and this is early on, I have found that the deeper our understanding of the tree of life, the spherotic system, the deeper we delve into it, the more clarity we acquire in our lives, the clearer we are in how to balance these 7 spheres of energy, of divine energy and human energy. The clearer we are how to balance them, the more joyous our lives are going to be. I have found that the spherotic chart and delving into their intricacies are going to supply us literally with a grand map of our souls. It would be metaphorically the tree of life is comparable to the anatomy of the soul. That's what we're talking about. Or another way of putting it, the tree of life, the spherotic system, is somewhat of a blueprint of our consciousnesses. And the more we delve into it, the more self-understanding we are going to attain. And through self-understanding comes the satisfaction and fulfillment of our inner lives, of our spiritual lives. So the tree of life is not necessarily not only a spiritual path, but I would say that a deep understanding of the tree of life and the seven energies that emanate from that is really not it's not only for mystics, it's not only for Jews. It is anyone that wants to delve deeply into the well springs of consciousness. They will benefit from these deep teachings. A week has already passed. I don't see. I don't know how many of you are doing other classes in the Sphira and the Sfirat HaOmer and the counting of the seven weeks, 7 weeks times 7 times 7 of the spherotic energy sources. So if I am repeating some stuff that you might have been studying in some other classes, forgive me. But the first week, we start off the spherotic chart. Kim, is there any way you can put up that the Sphira chart that you showed in the beginning? Okay, great. Just to give people a taste. We are not going to be speaking about Keter or Chachma or Bina, about crown, wisdom, or understanding right now. We start the 7 spherotic energy sources from the 4th, from Chesed, which here is being translated as kindness. I am going to start introducing other nouns for these energy levels, but we start with Chesed on the right hand side and Gevura, which is translated here as judgment. You know, that's fine. I'm going to introduce some new translations, which is going to give us different insights into the character of the spherotic energies. So this week, a week has already passed since the second day of Pesach, when we start the counting of the Omer. So today we start the spherotic energy or influence of Gevura. So I'm going to start with Gevura. Chesed, of course, it was translated as kindness, but I like either loving kindness. Chesed chesed is we don't have time to get into chesed, or else I'm never going to get into gevura. But very quickly, chesed is the energy source of coming from love, loving kindness, the effulgence, the flowing from the source of love. Whenever we speak about the spherotic chart, we are speaking about energy, forces that are coming from divinity. And because humankind is made in the image of divinity, whatever we apply, if we apply love to God, to divinity, that is also going to be present in us, because we are created in the mirror image of divinity. So there is love emanating from divinity, and in the same sense, there is love with a capital L emanating from us. So imagine unbridled, unrestricted, infinite love flowing. Wouldn't you imagine that would be somewhat dangerous, somewhat impossible to endure? Wouldn't that effulgence of love need some semblance of constraint, of restraint, in order not to be in order not to be overwhelmed by its power? You wouldn't you? Unrestricted, unbridled love energy. Here comes gevura. Gevura. I'm going to throw out. They translated gevura in that chart as, again, Kim, how is it translated? Strength? Judgment. Okay. I really have,
I didn't remember.
Judgment is part of it, but Chevra, I'm gonna turn it around. I'm gonna be using different words that might make the function, the personality of Gevura palpable to our minds and to our souls. Okay, here we go. I'm going to translate Gevura. Gevura, you know the Hebrew word, the root word, the shoresh of Gevura is gibor. Gibor traditionally is strength, is a person who is strong. But we're gonna get even deeper than that, friends. The word gevura, properly translated, really means a few things. It means restraint, discipline, limitation, constriction. Or I'm going to add a new one, a metaphorical one. I also want to translate Gevura, just so you can picture in your mind Gevura as gravity. So without going back into the mystical story of creation, which we really should, but without going back there, we start the story of the spherotic energy of Gevura with the idea that we live in what the mystics called the Olam HaHevdel. We live in the world of opposites. We live in the world of differentiation. In other words, we live in a world of duality. Duality and separation. We know that. We feel that all the time. What do I mean by that? We live in a world of duality. I'll give you a few examples. The world of duality is represented symbolically when we say light and darkness, good and evil, male and female, yin and yang. If we utilize our perceptions properly and intensely, we will find that anything that we experience, anything that we see around us is going to conjure up bring forward to us, to our perception, yes, we live in a world of duality.
Is there no place for shades of gray, Rabbi?
Shades of gray, absolutely yes, absolutely yes. But gray is still reflective of the olam hahevdel. Just by the mere fact that you are saying gray, gray is just a combination, some admixture of duality, of black and white. Ultimately. So if we go back just a touch, back to Genesis, back to the story of creation. What the Torah is trying to tell us through metaphor, this world is a world of duality, is when the Torah introduces at the beginning of the beginning, if you remember, that the first divine act is one of separation, where the upper and lower waters, it's very cryptic in the Torah when we read that there are upper waters and lower waters, and the first thing that is done, that the upper and lower waters are separated, so to speak. That's a chiddush in and of itself. In fact, that is really an encapsulation of infinity becoming finite. I think the Torah is when the upper waters and lower waters are created, that is when, so to speak, when heaven and earth, when that separation between infinity and finiteness is made manifest. That's the Torah's way of saying it. And that's not the only separation that is created. After the upper and lower waters are separated, even the waters, the earth is full of water. And then the water is separated to create dry land, another separation. And then the waters are gathered. So everyone takes that, oh, the waters are gathered, therefore we have the Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and Pacific Ocean. Wrong. We're talking here about the spiritual energies that are founded within what we call our world, the universe in which we live. There had to be a separation from infinity into finiteness. That's what that story's all about. So it's only after separation then the earth can produce seed and start growing, which means the following. The effulgence of chesed, of divine love, creates a world, but that manifestation somehow has to be separated from its source. It has to be separated and then gathered in. This gathering in is Gevura. And it's only through the power of Gevura that the ever-flowing effulgence of Chesed can bring forth anything. Friends, making distinction, separating, havdalah. Everyone thinks havdalah is a candle, right? That we use on Motzei Shabbat. Havdalah means distinction, separating, recognizing opposites. Recognizing opposites. That is basic to the human condition. Basic to the human psyche is the ability to separate and to make distinction. This Pesach, we every Havdalah, we say Hamavdil ben Kodesh lechol. The one who separates, who is able to who separates, who is able to make a distinction between sacred and ordinary. In fact, the entire human psyche is all about that. We are able to separate and to make distinction. And this past Yontif, when Motzei Shabbos was the second day of Saturday night, was the beginning of the second day of Yontif, we make this in Kiddush, we make this beautiful bracha, Hamavdil, not Hamavdil ben Kodesh lechol, who is able to distinguish between holy and ordinary. We have a more beautiful, refined Hamavdil ben Kodesh lekodesh. There is even distinction between holy, this type of holiness, and that type of holiness, between the holiness of Shabbat and the holiness of Yontif. So distinctions and recognition of distinction is basic to human nature, to human consciousness. And it goes back to the origins of the first male and female prototype, Adam and Eve. Let me tell you a secret about the tree, the tree in the garden. Let's go back to Adam and Eve for a moment. Why was it forbidden to eat of that specific tree in the garden? The Eitz Hada'at Tov Vara. The tree, Chaver, you know what the tree of knowledge, the one that was forbidden to eat from? You know why it was forbidden to eat from? Because everyone translates Eitz Hada'at Tov Vara wrongly. That's why we don't why was it forbidden? Gosh. Eitz Hada'at Tov Vara, the tree of knowledge of Tov Vara, of good and evil, is always mistranslated. The Eitz Hada'at Tov Vara should be translated as the tree of union of good and bad, good and evil. When Adam and Eve ate of the fruit of good and evil, they became mixed up and confused because they were eating of the forbidden fruit of when good and evil are in union with each other. Because in infinity, there is good and evil are in union one with another. In infinity. In infinity, there is no distinction. And in the Olam HaHevdel, in this world of distinction, of distinction, of separation, we are forbidden to mix up good and evil. They must remain separate. We must distinguish between good and evil in this realm. In the infinite realm, there is no distinction. It's all echad. It's all one. That is why it's only because the first prototype of human beings, Adam and Eve, are commanded to make distinctions, because that is the realm in which we live. We are commanded to make clarifications between good and evil, between light and darkness. And that is the human task behind creation. and to get more refined and more refined and more refined behind distinction and clarification. And friends, it's out of this power of distinguishing comes the attribute of Gevura. Friends, this is the scoop about Gevura. Infinity, Ein Sof, infinity requires restraint, requires Gevura. The universe and we can only evolve through restraint. And I'm going to start now. Instead of using the word restraint, I'm going to introduce another word that I think is much more powerful and more. It's going to be more. It's going to resonate better with us, because I believe that restraint, although to an extent it's true, restraint has fairly negative connotations. So I want to use a different word. I want to introduce to you a different word for Gevura. Instead of limitation, discipline, restraint, I want to use the word channeling. I think it's a better and more exact term.
Excuse me, Rabbi Akiva, you had said earlier that you would translate it also as gravity, but I would like if you could come back at a certain point to give a sentence or two about how gravity applies when you finish channel.
Okay. The gravity and channeling are very, very closely related. Very closely related. Gravity stabilizes our world. Gevura stabilizes chesed. The same way gravity prevents chaos, prevents this computer from flying up in the air, prevents me, restrains me from flying up above the computer. Pictures and your furniture flying around your room. As gravity prevents chaos in your kitchen, in your living room, so Gevura limits, restrains, disciplines but better is able to control the effulgence of love from drowning us and sweeping us away in love, in chesed.
Rabbi, you mean it keeps us more in control?
Yeah, yes, if you want to use that word, yeah.
When we were first like in love or something, it's just overpowering, and then you have to ground it.
Yes, yes. Without Gevura, without the energy of Gevura, everything turns into chaos. Without exercising Gevura in our lives, our lives are chaotic. And chaotic in an extremely destructive manner. Friends, the attribute of Gevura within us is the ability and capacity to target and to channel. Gevura is our ability to target and to channel. Again, which requires our ability for distinction and separation and clarification. But without Gevura, our lives turn into total chaos. We utilize Gevura much, much, much more than we think. Imagine your child or your friend or your student coming to you with a huge problem. Maybe even a life and death kind of problem. And you're listening to this thing, and they're in trouble, and they're coming to you for some help. And after listening to them, are you going to simply listen to them and then blurt out your first reaction, your first impulse? Or are you going to exercise all of the Gevura within you? Are you going to be trying to think about the 10 different answers that you could possibly give them, the 20 different responses that you can give them, and within a moment attempt to hit target? Are you going to think about and make distinctions of how you are going to respond to their plea? Or are you just going to blurt something out? That is gevura in action. If you take the time to, first of all, limit your speech, to think before you speak. At the speed of light, take all of your 10 possible responses and delete delete 2 of them because they're inappropriate. Delete another 2 of them because they don't fit. And narrow yourself down. That's called, channeling. We make distinctions, and we take a very wide spectrum and then narrow it down until we are channeled in our response, until we have, and we keep on channeling and exercising gevura, the strength that it takes to make distinction between good responses and lousy responses. And we take that time. That is an exercise in gevura, in limiting and disciplining, in making distinction, in channeling ourselves, and then hitting target. The effulgence of chesed, of love, hardly has a target. It takes the spherotic energy of gevura to channel the power of chesed into its proper places. We have an abundance of chesed within us, as the divine does. But wild and crazy chesed, that is the nature of chesed. It's just overflowing. That's what the word effulgence. It's just flowing and flowing and flowing. It's just out there with hardly a channel, with hardly a focus, and certainly without target. Gevura is necessary for chesed to be effective. And believe it or not, we human beings, we have an infinite amount of chesed within us, because we are created in the image of the one of infinite chesed. You know how much love we contain? So you should be asking me, Akiva, if we are mirrors of that divine chesed, how come human beings how come the masses are a bunch of asses? How come human beings aren't true to the chesed that lies within? And I'll tell you this, the simple answer is, it is not for a lack of chesed. It is not for the lack of love that human beings are so screwed up. It is because of the lack of gevura. It is our inability to channel that love properly is where we go wrong. It's not love's problem. It's gevura's. It's our problem, our challenge with gevura. We have a channeling problem. We are missing the mark. We are missing the target. Our eye is off the target. That's our problem. That's our challenge. So don't doubt your capacity of chesed. Rectify your ability and capacity for channeling and for targeting properly. That's where most of our errors lie. So before I go on, I'll take a few comments or questions.
So
Now-
Rabbi, I guess we're supposed to think before we speak, right?
Yeah, yes, that would be a good idea.
Marilyn was up next.
Okay, there was a time we were taught, spare the rod and spoil the child. You have to beat your child and make them obey. Another aspect of my life as a school teacher in inner city, Bridgeport, Connecticut, I had to give a lot of gevura, a lot of restraint to children that were mistreated at home, poverty, a lack of everything that is necessary to make a whole person. And what you're saying is so appropriate. Just to make someone feel good about themselves is not that difficult, but you have to think about what you're going to say before you say it.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate what you're saying now.
Marilyn, let me. You said something that sparked something. Are all of us hearing? Marilyn used the word as I used the word restraint. Restraint is absolutely part of it. It's part of the vehicle. It's one of the variables that come into the sphere of gevura. I just want to emphasize that it is not only restraint. It is not only control and discipline. I want us to switch metaphors. It's not only the activity of restraint and discipline. It has gevura in my mind more recently has to do with aim, with aiming at the target rather than negative terms like restraint and control. It's the positive attribute of developing and evolving a good eye of where the effulgence of love, where my power of love is to be aimed at. It's different than controlling or restraining my love. It's aiming properly. It's more like a laser pointer. It's more on the lines of laser surgery.
Well, excuse me.
It's perfecting my aim at the exact target. And
I didn't make myself clear. When I said restrain, I meant restrain your anger, your negativity. It's so easy to see a child talking while you're teaching or playing a game or something. The idea is to treat that child with love and restrain your anger. So I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
Yes, I know.
I didn't express myself.
I know, Marilyn. I know we're all on the same page. It's just these fine differences that I think make a difference in how we are going to be exercising Gevura. If we call Gevura restraint or control, or we call it channeling and aiming.
Thank you, Shabri and Joan, for using the raise the hand function, Shabri and then Joan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rabbi. Thank you for this wonderful teaching. I was thinking about God's creation and Hesed, loving kindness overflowing within God. And I was wondering, when it comes to, let's say, in God's creation, there are hurricanes and global warming and all of the other, what we would call maybe upsetting negative part. Is that God's Gevura? Do you think that might be considered God's Gevura, or God doesn't need a Gevura? I don't totally understand it, because we're thinking of it in our terms as human beings, but it's coming from God's love. So it's confusing to me.
Sheba, I'm sorry, Sheba.
Shabri, that is, it's an excellent question, but I have to say it's not for now. It can't be for now. These are manifestations. I have to answer on one level. Everything comes from source.
Yes.
Everything comes from source. But there are too many variables in between. So that's statement number one. But there are so many a multiplicity, an infinite amount of variables in between that I cannot delineate right now to answer your question directly.
Another time.
Yes.
Thank you.
But an excellent question and an excellent kind of it's an excellent, you went back to the origins, which I appreciate.
Yeah, thank you.
Joan Halpern. Thank you, Shabri.
Thank you.
So practicing the counting of the Omer right now and living in duality and listening to your description of Chesed and effulgence and endless flowing. And you're talking about the separation of the waters. I'm receiving an image that water can't flow unless it has something to flow in or on. That chesed, if all we had was chesed, and you're talking about aim, and that's when chesed's going out. Chesed has to be received in order to be in existence.
Correct.
So Gevura is that which enables chesed to flow, because it's that which is receiving. There has to be something to receive the chesed.
Absolutely correct.
And that's the Gevura. So that when we talk about creation and we talk about the expansion and the vessels are the Gevura in order to receive the chesed.
Right on, Joan. Right on. It reminds me of the Talmudic adage. You know the name Shaddai. It's on Shaddai is on every mezuzah covering, right? Shin Dalad Yud, and the Talmud says that the name of God, which is Shaddai, is really an acronym for She'omar Le'olam Dai. We are referring to divinity, to the God that said to the world on the sixth, at the end of the sixth day of creation, that said to the world, die, as in Dayenu. Dayenu, right? Die, which means stop. Stop your flow. Stop the effulgence. In order for chesed to be made manifest, it cannot be ever flowing. There has to be a gevura stoppage in order to have the waters separated and for the waters to be gathered in order to make a vessel. The gathering of the waters is to create dry land, so there can be a vessel, a receiver of that chesed. A vessel was needed. What creates a vessel? Gevura. Kim, can we, friends, I was, no, not that one. Here we go. Here we go. Friends, I was preparing for this class, and it was things that are so obvious. Sometimes we totally miss because they are too obvious. Kim, can I just see the faces for a moment? Okay, we're right there. Can I see faces for a moment? Friends, things that are so obvious, we tend to miss. The topic for today's teaching and for this week's energy is Gevura. So I'm davening And what do I meet up with? The bracha, the second bracha in the Amidah, the second portion in every Amidah that we recite is called, the first one is called Avot, because we speak about the matriarchs and patriarchs. The second bracha is called Givurot. And it was like, it was right in front of me, and I got struck by Gevurot, and I just knew that in this bracha, in the Amidah, lies not only the secret behind the sphera of Gevurah, but lies a key for that is going to open up your minds and your hearts to the inner and truer meaning of Gevurah. So I believe it or not, we're not going to go to any mystical text. We're not going to go to any mystical text that talks about Gevurah. I'm going to go to the weekday Amidah, and we are going to discover a truth about this second emanation on the spherotic on the spherotic chart. Kim, let's put this up. Okay, this is in English. We have it in Hebrew. Kim has it in Hebrew, but for our purposes right now, let's do it. Let's do it in the English. So you see at the top, this is the second. This is the second bracha of the Amidah, and it's entitled Ata Gibor. Do we have to get any more explicit? Do we have to get any clearer? Ata Gibor, Gevurah. This is the paragraph that is going to teach us what does it mean that the divinity,
or maybe that's them standing by the car.
That divinity is strong, is powerful, is mighty. What does that mean? Ata Gibor, you are eternally mighty, Lord. You give life to the dead and have great powers to save. Now, friends, you give great power to the dead is traditionally referring to the belief in the resurrection of the dead. Right now, I am not going to be using the dead as dead corpses. I am going to be using the dead as the dead in spirit, those that are alive. Okay, we're gonna be using the dead and resurrection of the dead, not referring to that impossible belief and idea that one day our bodies are going to be resurrected, but we're going to be taking it symbolically. You give life to the dead. That means that the divine presence and the divine power is able to imbue those of us that are dead inside, that something of us is lacking life, that our full potential and realization of life has been a little deadened within us. And we're going to be taking this symbolically. So you, Atagibor, you, the mighty one, have given life to us that are a little bit dead inside and have the power to save. Let's go down a bit. He says, no, that's it. He sustains. This is, friends, this is all definitions of God's might. Atagibor, you are mighty. How are you mighty? How do you manifest your power, your might, your strength? Might and strength and power can be realized and imagined in many, many, many forms. Other traditions, other religions have viewed God as a mighty warrior. We even in our tradition as a mighty warrior, as Adonai Ish Milchama, the God who makes battle. That listen to the definition here of how the sages of the rabbinic age, how they defined Atagibor. You, God, are mighty. What does might mean? What does power mean? This is the list. He sustains the living with loving kindness, with great compassion. He revives those that are dead inside. What does Atagibor, you are mighty, mean? You are mighty in that he supports the fallen. He heals the sick, sets the captives free, and keeps his faith with those who sleep in the dust, who are downtrodden. Who is like you, master of might, master of Gevurah, and to whom can you be compared, O king, who brings death and who gives life and makes salvation grow? Faithful are you to revive those that are dead inside. Blessed are you, Lord, who revives those that are dead inside.
Do you want to see the Hebrew?
Yes, thank you. Scroll. It starts here, the Atagibor. Friends, I have to sing this a little bit because the next time you hear me chanting the Amidah, you'll be reminded of this teaching. Starting with the word michalkel. Do you hear the emphasis here? We start off with Atagibor. We start off with the attribute of God's Gevurah. And we keep on talking about Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed. How is God's ultimately, how is God's Gevura made manifest? Mechalkel chayim bechesed. It is through divine, how God sustains life with chesed through Gevura. That life is sustained. Next time you hear this, you'll be reminded of the teaching. Do you remember this from the past? Mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye meitim berachamim rabim. Sohomech noflim v'rofei cholim. Ooh, I can just hear you singing with me. Umatir asurim. Umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umidom elach melech meimit umekayeh umatzmiach Yeshua. V'nemanata lachayot meitim, Baruch ata Adonai, mechayei hameitim. Friends, this is, I thought this to be such a chiddush. We are talking about God's Gevura in being able to channel divine chesed in order to target divine chesed through the vehicle of Gevura, only in order to be mechaye hametim, only in order to give life to those who are half dead.
I had to make sure I was muted because you were right. I was just like right there. Donna has her hand up. Is it a good time now?
Yeah.
And
so just a short question. What does Yeshua mean in the prayer that you just recited? It's the last word of one of the line, one of the last lines.
Umatzmiach Yeshua, and who makes blossom, or who makes grow salvation.
So Yeshua is salvation, or makes grow salvation?
No, salvation. Matzmiach is make grow, makes grow salvation, makes grow salvation is another word for ultimate fulfillment.
Thank you.
Ultimate fulfillment.
Sandra Puslins.
Hi. I want to tell you that this is one of the most profound lessons, I believe, that you have ever given. Most of them are pretty profound, but this one, most profound. I'm understanding exactly what you mean. And what happens to all of us is that we take it into ourselves, and I guess we make it personal. We think of, how does this fit into our lives? And that's why it's so profound. I have a situation with someone in my life that I have given a lot of loving kindness and chesed, and I actually had no limitations. Mm-hmm. I had no gevura. And what happened to me, I believe, was I was hurt over and over again. Because when I was listening to what Joan had to say, I think maybe I took it the wrong way, in that there has to be an end to our love. There has to be a receiving of our love. My chesed had no limits. And therefore, this person hurt me and hurt me and hurt me. What eventually I did was I separated myself from that person. But you know, I still love that person. I'm rolling my eyes. And I do.
Uh-huh.
So my friend Sandy, who's sitting here, said, how could you possibly love that person? Because she knows what this person has done to me. And I think that's my kind of channeling. I separate. It's not that I don't talk to this person. It's that I don't invite this person in anymore. When I see the person, or I get a phone call from my husband and answer the phone from this person, I say, how are you? That's my limitation. But when you have chesed in you and you give it out, you don't stop giving. There is no end to it. What there is, and I have learned today, is there is a limitation of separating from the hurt, from the person not receiving with kindness. So you separate, but I don't stop loving.
That's Sandy, beautifully said, beautifully. That's why I actually started off with the idea that really is basic to Gevura, is the idea of separation and our ability to distinguish. What made you realize what you realized, and then exercise a certain degree, a certain form of Gevura, is only because you were able to distinguish and separate. It was coming, that was the source of your new found relationship. And may I also add that what you utilized, Sandy, was only one out of a multiplicity of different degrees and different ways of channeling. Right? You could have channeled in many different ways. That was the way you chose, and that was apparently the effective way. But we are able to fashion our channeling in so many beautifully ingenious ways, and there is an art behind channeling. There is an art behind it.
Rabbi Akiva, we are running out of time. Deborah Lesk had been signaling for a while, and I don't know that we'll have time for any questions after that, because Gevura is requires some compliance to restraints. Deborah, did you need?
Hi, Rabbi. I just want to ask, is this the same as setting boundaries when you talk about channeling? Is that another way of looking at it?
Absolutely. It's absolutely part of it. Absolutely part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I am going to exercise Gevura because we've been here for 91 minutes. So thank you, everyone.
Okay.
We can begin next class with the questions if they are still sitting with you. Rabbi Akiva is available at any time if we want to. Thank you, and may our days be blessed with a beautiful channeling of our chesed. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Anyone wants
Thanks.
the counting of the Omer work with every day we're doing a meditation. Be in touch. It's not too late to join us. If this has you hungry, B'nai Torah members, it's free. everyone else, we can negotiate whatever is comfortable. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.